welcome to Saron Things, a pop culture podcast where we talk about the things that matter to me, Saron. How are y'all doing? I don't even know how I'm doing at this point. This week has been quite a whirlwind with my family specifically. My dad has been in the hospital for the past week. He had a blood clot in his lung, and that's a big deal because he's been sick for a bit. He has AFib. It's a heart thing. It's a lot. Dealing with aging parents is not fun. It really is. It's very awkward. It makes me feel very uncomfortable to see him like feeble and needing care because, that's the role that they played our entire lives. And suddenly, like, you blink and it's like, oh, I need to make sure you're okay. You're not the one making sure that I'm okay. Okay. It's like you got to get used to it. You do have to get used to it. But, I'm lucky that I still have my parents around, and I don't know. This just makes me more conscious of the fact that I want to spend more time with them while they're here. I want to, and I know I don't know if any of you guys relate to this, but my dad is his own worst fucking enemy. I don't know what is going on, but he's not doing the things that he needs to do in order to keep himself in tip top shape, right? It's like, take a walk. Your bones shall atrophy, or drink your fucking Metamucil so you're not in the hospital with stomach pain, or just there are so many things that could be mitigated, so many issues that he just won't do anything that makes him uncomfortable, or he won't eat anything that he doesn't like the taste of. And it's just like, I don't know where you got the idea that any of this was your choice, sir, because it's either you eat your broccoli or you go to the hospital, right? It's either you walk around like your building a couple times, do some laps, get some fresh air, or you're going to get weak. Read some books, do Sudoku or something, or your mind will suffer. So he was a man who always had like the most strict regimented schedule for my entire life. He'd wake up at 4 a.m. He drove a cab and he would drive from like 5 a.m. to like 6, 7 p.m. every single day. And, he would every single weekday. And, on the weekends, he'd have his like things that he needed to do with his car and go to church, and they, do errands and stuff. And he was always just like a very with it and moving guy. So it's troubling to say the least to see him not only just not do things that will keep him youthful and keep him spry, but also just like be so against them. Because since when? Since I don't know. And then to add to that, my sister Nebiat, her dad passed away. I am the youngest of 4. Right. So I have 3 older sisters. We're all girls. My parents were both married before, so technically they're all my half sisters. But if you call them my half sisters, I will kill you. I'll kill you. I don't like it. It's not how it feels. It's not how it is. And I shan't be called. They shan't be called my half sisters. It makes me upset. But I am technically I'm the glue that holds us all together. I mean, not really. Anyways, I digress. Nebiat's father, his name was Daniel. He passed away this past week, so his funeral was this weekend, and I attended that, and it was fucking rough as hell. So, and at his funeral, I found out that my dad was at the hospital, so it was just like a roller coaster of shit. But now here we are. Back in real life. I did something fun last week. I was on the Taylor Strecker show. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She had a Sirius XM morning show for forever. And when she left there, she started her own show called Taste of Taylor. And I think she's absolutely hilarious, delightful. I believe this episode is behind a paywall on Patreon. I highly recommend you guys subscribe to her because she's delightful. She's incredibly entertaining. I could listen to her talk about, paint drying, and she'd still find a way to make me giggle. So we had a fun conversation about Bravo and pop culture and Blake and Justin and just like a whole bunch of shit. And I've been listening to her for forever. So I don't know how I've weaseled my way onto the show, but hopefully I will be somewhat of a regular co host and come in whenever she needs me, because we really did have a good time. But she drops her episodes at like midnight every night. It's a podcast that happens 5 days a week, an hour. It's crazy, guys. She does an hour every single day. She does other people's podcasts. I don't know how she has enough saliva in her mouth to keep going. It's insane. Um, but that being said, she drops her episodes at midnight every night. And I woke up pretty early in the morning and I saw my episode had dropped. And so I looked at the comments in Patreon and I was like, oh no, they hate me. They all hate me. I am the worst. What am I doing here? Did I just ruin the career of a radio savant who has been on the air for like over a decade? What? The comments weren't good. And by the comments weren't good, it was like 3 or 4 comments, and more people started listening. And I'm happy to say that the vast majority of the comments on the podcast were like, very good, bring her back, had a lot of fun, she's informed, blah blah blah, like a lot of very good feedback. But if I just went on like the first couple of comments, I swear to God, I would have gotten my fucking jaw wired shut, because who am I to be on a podcast? Who am I to speak? You would think. Other life things. I have a date. Guys. I told like a truncated version of this story on Taste of Taylor. But last week I went to this event. It was a mixer for people who collect rare books or who are interested in collecting rare books. You don't know this about me, but I love to read. I love literature. I studied creative writing, and in my undergrad, I actually I thought I was going to be a starving writer and author of fiction for my entire life, basically. So I somehow ended up working in political advertising, and now I'm here. But yes, books hold a very special place in my heart and my soul. And I'm wanting to invest my money in things that I feel will like appreciate and value, because obviously that's of the utmost importance, but also has some kind of, I don't know, emotional connection to. So art and literature, I'm looking for some first editions to start my collection. And so I was like, this is going to be a good time, right? A mixer of a bunch of nerds talking about books. I'll find some deals, maybe I'll meet some connections in this world. I'll have some shitty Chardonnay and be on my way. But turns out the book people like to get lit. They like to get lit. They like their boozies. And I have decided that this year I am saying yes to things. Okay, this is my year of motherfucking yes. I know it's corny. I know I'm not the first to say it. I'm certainly not the first like single queen to go on this journey, but my relationship ended last year, literally around this time. I think I moved into this apartment on March 13th. So we're there. And so this past year, I haven't done anything but focus on not being insane, not losing my mind, not losing myself, not spiraling out, because that is what I have generally done in like the most trying moments of my life. I usually don't handle things very well. And I'm looking at like early 20s Saron, really, because that's really where the trauma lives. My early 20s, prefrontal frontal lobe formation. I made some fucking wild decisions, and I'm sure we'll get to them in due time. Yeah, for sure, Z's. But we were together for 8 years. We break up last February, like mid-February. And I move into my place where I am right now in March, and it's the first time I've ever lived alone. And like I said, I was determined to make sure that this like new chapter really represented a new stage in my life beyond just like my romantic connection. So I focused on growing my social media and who I wanted to be outside of this career that I've grown in political media. And I didn't go anywhere. I went on a couple of dates for sure, but every single time I downloaded a dating app, I would just get overwhelmed and stressed out. And I don't know, how are you supposed to fucking tell who's worthwhile and who isn't? It's all just so overwhelming, and I don't want to waste my time with a bunch of like losers. If I could screen for normalcy or just like a good time with a sense of humor, you can't query for those things. Those aren't really line items in the search in those in the dating apps. So, I mean, as you know, dating is trial and error, and I don't feel like trial and erroring. So I stayed home. I focused on growing my career and hitting some milestones, and I I grew my pet family. I now have two cats, and a dog, and like my life feels like full and content. And I just became very comfortable saying no and focusing on those things that I knew were going to make my life tangibly better. And for the love of God, we all know that there's no assurance that a man shall do that. So, yeah, all that to say, we weren't really dating last year. We weren't. I There were a couple of guys that I saw for a little bit more for selfish reasons than emotional ones. If you catch my drift, So I went to this mixer for a bunch of like gin and tonics later. I think they were gin and tonics or vodka tonics later. We ended up at a random bar in Georgetown, not we left the event space. There were like 7 of us. We went to this bar. There was a Republican lobbyist there. If you're listening to this, you probably know that I am a raging Democrat. When I say I'm a political consultant, I only work with Democrats, of course. I use the media to help them win elections. But anywho, I was not at this rare books mixer in that capacity, right? So anywho, this guy comes up to me. He's like in his mid-50s, American flag pin on his lapel. If you don't know, that's a motherfucking red flag. Red flag. American flag pin on the lapel in DC. You got yourself a Republican. Anywho, I told him he was coming on very strong. He came in slurring. He came in slurry McSlurry pants. And it like disheveled, kind of sweaty, like just not like your run of the mill Republican, middle-aged Republican lobbyist. I just inquired at some point after he had hit on me for long enough. I asked, what's your political leaning? Are you Democrat, Republican, Independent? Are you one of those, libertarians? Are you going to tell me you're socially liberal but fiscally conservative? Ugh, kill me. And he's like, no, he said, I'm a Republican. And like, obviously I knew that already. And I said, I'm not, this isn't happening for a myriad of reasons. I find you sleazy and weird. And it's just, you're also could be my father. You could be my blonde father. Okay. I didn't say that to him, but I should have. It would have probably thrown him for a loop. So I continued to duck, dodge, and dive him, and all the while there was another gentleman, really funny, dry sense of humor. I mean, he seems lovely. We ended up going back to his place. Oh God, he told me his home was a mess. Right. I said, my home is also a mess, so we shan't go back there. And we did that a couple of times. Like, no, not my house. And, well, not my house. And not my house. Well, not my house. And I was like, well, then we're both going to our respective homes. And of course, then he was like, well, then my house. So he said, you'll have to wait outside for a couple minutes for me to clean things up. And I say, okay. So we go back to his place, and he parks me outside for maybe like 10, 15, I don't know, for a while. It's a long time. And upon entering his home, I'm like, wait, this is it after you spent like 15 minutes cleaning? No way. it, a horror. A horror. Huge turnoff, right? Like immediately. And he said, "Oh, you're probably never going to want to see me again after this." And part of me was like, "You might be actually right because I'm not looking for a project, guys. I'm not looking for a project. I'm looking for something that's turnkey, you know? It doesn't need to be a new build, obviously, but something maybe pre-war with good bones, sturdy, a nice ornamented fireplace, perhaps, molding. You can't be a fixer-upper, okay? You have to know how to do essentially everything. Right? You have to have a clean home, very least. It just makes me feel like, oh, do you not care about yourself? Like, and also, I mean, I'm not trying to teach a man in his 30s anything about how to take care of yourself. So we made out for a little bit, and I promptly was like, "Toodles, gotta go. Have to walk my dog." And I did. I did have to walk my dog, but I also did want to leave that dirty, dirty house. So I called my car, and we ended up leaving. And as I was leaving, he was like, "But like, am I going to see you again?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. You're definitely going to see me voice up like 10 octaves. Um, but honestly, I really did have a good time with him, and he was really funny, and he was a pretty good kisser. I almost got into that Uber without giving him my number. I started walking away, and he was like, "Well, I mean, I don't have any way to contact you." I was like, "All right, okay." So I gave him my number, my real number. And he like sent me a text a couple days later with of a cat that he is currently cat sitting, and in his home, obviously, and his home was in the background, and it looked clean, right? It looked clean. So I don't know if he did that strategically to prove that, like, I'm not a pig. I'm not a disgusting, like, layabout who wants to like live in his own filth. I actually care about the state of my home, and I was like, yeah, okay, then let's go out for a date. So we're going out for drinks on Sunday. And I'm very excited for that. I'll keep you guys posted. Um, he really was a good time. Oh, but the Republican lobbyist, he apparently told nice Jewish boy. I'm just going to call him NJB. He called him he told NJB like when we were in the bar, "Oh, you can have your time with her for now." And as if as if he stood a chance. As if he stood a chance. Ugh, God, I hate being talked about like I'm an object. Yeah, that's me dating in DC currently. I am on the apps. Well, I mean, I am physically on the apps, right? Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, not on the apps, not on the apps. Every time I open like Hinge or something and and I see the matches, the anxiety, I feel it in my throat. And I immediately turn it off and I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever, whatever. I mean, I find men in the wild. I think it just is more romantic maybe to meet someone in real life in my brain, but it is 2025, Saron. It is 2025. And I want to know what the percentage of people who actually meet online versus in real life and end up getting married are. I need to look up those stats. But yeah, that's the state of my dating life currently. Okay, let's talk about some pop culture things. I want to start with a topic that I said I would never talk about, and that is fucking Kanye West. And I am still committed after this to really avoid him at all costs because attention is the currency that he like that matters to him most. I fully believe that. So the less attention I can give him, the less attention the public gives him, the more likely is to just like shrivel up and die. At least that's what I hope. So, but I want to talk about him in the context of conservatorships, right? So Wendy Williams is right now in some kind of weird battle for her freedom, right? There are questions about her mental state. Who else have we has been in a conservatorship? There's Amanda Bynes, and then there's of course Britney Spears. I don't talk about Britney Spears very often. I don't think maybe I've mentioned her once on my socials, but I don't talk about her because I think it's weird that we can't talk about Britney Spears without there being a conversation about her freedom or whether or not she should be allowed to have free will. Like, I don't understand how that's even on on the table, you know? I guess at the end of the day, I think that people should be free to ruin their lives if they want. You know, I don't I think that the fact that when someone is high earning and their mental acuity and their ability to go to work every day is something that financially impacts others, if that is the defining line between the type of person who will be subject to a guardianship or a conservatorship versus not, then that seems like ethically so shaky to me. I and also let's talk about the fact that why are they all women? When was the last time we talked about a man getting a conservatorship? Kanye West, I don't listen. I'm not saying that they're all good, and and you know what? In Amanda Bynes' case, I think that actually it was a good and necessary thing, and her parents did have her best interest at heart. And obviously, these types of things exist for a reason, and at the core of that reason is good and well intentioned, but obviously that's not how humanity works. I don't like it when the conversation goes to, like in Britney Spears' case, like, should Britney have gotten her freedom back? What, because she's a kookadoodle doo? How many kookadoodle doos walk amongst us? What's the difference between her and Betty Lou from the next town over in Louisiana? Nothing except for hundreds of millions of dollars. And if that's truly at the core, and if when money's involved, that is always, always the driver. Always. I don't know. I'm not saying that he should be in a conservatorship. I'm saying it's crazy that we haven't discussed the fact that he should be, or no one's proposed it yet. If I was Kimberly Noel, fuck that bitch, by the way. Did you guys see her Tesla photo, whatever, the Cybertruck thing? What in the absolute fuckery was that? First and foremost, the front of those Teslas, they've stopped producing them for now because the front of them keep peeling off and becoming like sharp projectiles on the road. Anyways, I fucking digress. Kimberly, we saw those text messages with you and Kanye where he said, I will go to war over this. And this is using your daughter's trademark name in a song about P. Diddy, the sexual fucking predator. I would be I would be like, all right, let's lock this man up. How do we get him in one of those straitjackets, you know? Call 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 Brittany's father and her brother. They could give you some motherfucking tips, girl. And I am a Black Jewish woman. Of course, I hate Kanye West. Of course. Of course, I hate him. So let's talk about Lily Collins, our sweet little Emily in Paris. She has just had a baby, and she had that baby by surrogate. And people have lost their motherfucking minds. Everyone has decided that this bitch has had this baby that only used a surrogate because she values her skinny little body so much that she decided to rent out the womb of some underprivileged woman for a couple $100 and like an autographed headshot. You know, that's how people are behaving. They are saying that she bought her baby. And I don't understand why this is something so new and shocking to people at this moment. If there are so many people in Hollywood, in the world that use surrogates, and I know that it can be a predatory practice, just like so many things can be a predatory practice. But saying that you're renting out someone's womb, if someone is willing to carry your child for you for a price that they think is worthwhile, who are you to say it is not it is anti-feminist to utilize this option? And also, what do you mean by you bought a baby? Do people not understand that when you're using a surrogate, there are three active parties in this process, right? Three people have to contribute something. Homie has to contribute his sperm. Girly Pop has to contribute her egg. Surrogate mama, that uterus. Okay, she's contributing the uterus. The egg, sperm make the embryo, right? And then you shoot the embryo into the uterus of mama surrogate. She grows the baby in her uterus, in her tummy. She pops that baby out, gives that child to their mother and father, their biological mother and father. DNA test the baby. Guess who's popping up? Fucking Lily Collins, okay? Tarzan baby. Why is it that when like Phil Collins pops into my brain, it's like only Tarzan that I can think of? This man has a long storied career. Why can I only think of this Tarzan soundtrack? I couldn't name another thing right now. I'm sure something will come to me later, but yeah. Oh, did you guys know that Phil Collins was a deadbeat motherfucker? Like he was a deadbeat dad that didn't spend any time with Lily. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. So fuck that guy. Anyways, I digress. Lily Collins has her baby via surrogate, and her comment section blows up with people saying, "You're disgusting. You're not a feminist. You bought your baby. What you're doing is unacceptable." She posted this picture of on National Women's Day or like International Women's Day, whatever, of her holding her baby, and she was like, "Now that I have a daughter, X, Y, and Z," and all the comments were like, "Yeah, you're talking about that baby that you purchased since when?" I know that there are situations where overprivileged families or people go out and find very underprivileged people without resources, women without resources who just are looking to survive and take advantage of that. I know that that happens, but to assume that that is exactly what's happening with Lily Collins, also to assume that she only used a surrogate for vanity reasons, it's absurd. She hasn't told us the reason why she used a surrogate. One would assume my obvious first thought was, honestly, guys, I saw surrogate. I went, oh, interesting. But that's as far as it went. I didn't try to like do the math and calculate, well, it could have been for this reason. It could have been for that reason. It could have been for this reason. Just like I didn't do that. Like for Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson, or literally anyone. Like, also, wait, so does that mean that there's no circumstance in which surrogacy is okay and you're always, if you're the person whose uterus is being used is always being um, abused in some way by the person whose child they're carrying? By that logic, aren't all women uh, being taken advantage of, because we do rent out our uteruses essentially to some man's baby? I just don't get it. And also, like with gay couples, like with gay men, married gay men, or married. What the fuck? What kind of 1950s nonsense was that? What? They don't have to be married. Anyways, gay couples who want a child, right? Gay men. When I was in my early 20s, frontal lobe. And that's a long story for another time. Oh, yeah. In that situation, are egg donors being taken advantage of? Because you're using their genetic I don't know, guys. This is just, it's so fucking weird to me. And if you are one of those people who are attacking her for using a surrogate, I need you guys to take a pause and fully reflect on why. Think about it. Is every situation in which someone uses a surrogate abuse? Obviously not. Is every situation where someone uses a surrogate for vanity reasons because they don't want to mess up their perfect little bodies? Obviously not. Then why have we decided with this one woman then that for sure's 100% is the reason? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I truly, guys, I don't understand it. I've never seen anything like this before. And people are so emboldened to say the craziest things about, is it her child? They're calling her essentially like something that shouldn't be here, who's only here because of an act of some kind of like abuse or violence. And that's just horrific. I don't know what it is, because I've never seen anything like this with any other family that any other person in Hollywood or actor, singer, whatever, that has utilized a surrogate. Like Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra. Everyone was just like, congrats, Boo. Everyone was normal. Why with Lily Collins is it such a fucking big deal? Let's talk about another white girl that's having a really tough week. Hailey Bieber. Hailey Bieber. So this like 7-part series came out on TikTok about Hailey Bieber and how Hailey Baldwin became Hailey Bieber essentially. And at the root of the story is, allegedly, Hailey is a psychopath. She plotted, she schemed, she stalked, and she made Justin Bieber her target from a very young age, allegedly, and she really made sure that that walking down the aisle with Justin Bieber was going to for sure happen. She was going to make it happen, okay? And there are all of these images of her in, the crowd at fan signing events for Justin Bieber, and her just kind of like lurking in the background in situations where he's at prior to the meeting, or just her being a fanny fan. Every so often, it'll come up that like this was a thing that happened. Remember when Hailey Bieber stalked her way into marrying Justin Bieber? Hey guys, remember how Hailey Bieber is like actually a stalker? Like a video will pop up like that and the internet will begin to like have a tizzy again. And everyone is super aware that Hailey Bieber is very much online and she's watching the girlies and she's watching what people are saying about her, and it actually does affect her. And I just saw a People headline today saying that she was considering like legal action against the person who posted that series about, with all of the pictures and whatnot of her stalking Justin Bieber prior to them dating. And that's not going to help. That's certainly not going to help anything. In fact, it'll probably hurt you. It would be in your best interest to seem as unbothered as fuck, because th- bothered is your brand at this point, and we can't have that be the case anymore. So please don't try and sue anyone. I doubt it will work, and in fact, it will make the internet very upset. It's just not going to help you at all. And I hope your publicist is telling you that, because your lawyer obviously isn't. So I don't know what to say. How do I feel about Hailey Bieber and how Hailey Bieber became Hailey Bieber? I think she sounds like a goal-oriented queen, honestly. She had her eyes on the motherfucking prize, and she walked away with a giant teddy bear, you know? She hit the things with the squirt gun. She made the shots. Like, she left the carnival with the prize. And if that's not a goal-oriented queen, I don't know what is. Could she have potentially stalked him? Yeah, maybe. But is she harming him right now? I don't think so. So I don't know what to say. Listen, a stalker is my worst nightmare. Obviously, it freaks everyone out, but I'm conscious that that is a thing that happens and it often ends terribly for women. But in the reverse, he just had himself a nice like girly pop stalker, allegedly. Um, and she's not trying to do any harm to him. So I just don't understand why everyone is so upset about this. Like, could it be the case that she had a plan? She executed the mission and she landed the prize. Yeah. So, I guess I don't understand why this makes people so upset. Why? And also, we don't know if it's true. We do know that that is her in all of those pictures in the background. Sure. We do know that even Justin has confirmed they met at like a fan meet and greet via her dad. But that's really all we know. That's really all we know. It sounds like the plot to like a really good like YA fiction novel actually. So maybe someone, Colleen, Coho, Miss Hoover, looking at you. Maybe this can be your next mediocre work. I do want to talk about Blake and Justin for a second. I want to talk about the fact that people are saying that the judge Lyman should recuse himself because his brother, I think, directed Blake Lively in some commercial like ages ago. That is not the type of thing that a judge recuses themselves for. And I feel like that should be obvious. It's only a conflict of interest if the outcome of this case could like benefit or harm the judge or like his family in some way. And that just doesn't exist. So uh, stop saying that. It's silly. It sounds stupid. Real dumb. Other than that, there isn't much to talk about with the Lively case. Ryan did just file his motion to dismiss himself from Baldoni's lawsuit. And I don't know if it's just me and maybe it is my bias, but the things that in their legal documents are just there's so much exposition. It's so corny. It's like he's writing this like emotional thing. I roll my eyes. Like he said something like, "I'm sorry that I'm the man that Justin Baldoni claims that he is." It's just like, sir, shut up. Just how does that help? I wonder if Judge Lyman reads this and he's just like, ugh. Or maybe he's tickled. Maybe he's having a good time, like eating his popcorn, like waiting for the motions to come in and the emails, just like the rest of us. Maybe not. Who knows? But um, Leslie Sloan also said that she didn't want to file the thing about not wanting to participate in discovery because she's trying to get her part in the lawsuit dismissed. They said that what Brian Friedman had subpoenaed them for was like overly sorry, not subpoenaed, but has requested in discovery was like overly burdensome. Um, but we'll see what happens there. But Blake Lively did succeed in a part of her request for attorney's eyes only designation for some of the stuff that's going to be shared within Discovery. So there are a handful of things that I don't think were really relevant or important to um, Justin's case that Justin and Heath won't be allowed to see, and it will just be for the attorney's eyes only. Um, but yeah, she didn't win in full. He did get some concessions. The judge did make the requirements a bit, for what would fall under the attorney's eyes only designation. He did make them a little stronger. Raised the bar a bit. So that was kind of like a mixed ruling for both sides. But beyond that, nothing much has changed there. There was an article that was dropped this week by Stephanie McNeil, I think, from Glamour magazine, about mommy sleuths and just kind of disparaging content creators who have taken the time to read through the court filings and really dig into this lawsuit that's happening because it's really caught the public's interest. And she made this big to-do about how you should be wary of these mommy sleuths because they're probably making a lot more money. And by sensationalizing this lawsuit, they stand to make more money because people will be coming back. And it really serves the algorithm to be very sensational about this. And I think that people say these like words and they sound kind of right, but like that's not actually how it's working. The videos that I make about Blake Lively, they have the same like variance as any other subject that I talk about. And maybe that's just me saying, "Oh, I'm great at everything." No, it's just it, yeah, sometimes they pop off when people are particularly interested, but not really. That can't be and that can't be where the crux of your argument lies, because there is a financial implication to all media, whether it is Glamour magazine and its advertisers, or it's me and my audience, or the platform itself that I use. So, I wasn't personally particularly offended. Maybe it's because I'm not a mommy, or I don't know. I I just know that I'm not the person that she's describing. She made it sound like everybody who supports Justin Baldoni is some trumping conservative, alt right, anti Me Too Karen wench. And that is obviously not I'm a raging Democrat feminist. And I think it really doesn't help their case to constantly push this whole, oh, if you like Justin Baldoni, if you side with him, then you're a Democrat, that you're obviously like an alt right person thing. Yes, obviously, like I get that it was a great opportunity having Candace Owens be such like a big fucking face in this conversation. If I was her publicist, I would Blake Lively's publicist. I was like, yeah, let's use this angle. If we frame it as supporters of Justin Baldoni are aligning themselves with Candace Owens, therefore making themselves, the first down the alt right pipeline. It's like a good spin, but you throw things at the wall and see if they stick, and this didn't stick. I would argue that it had the opposite effect, and it pissed people off. I know it pissed me off. The when that first Rolling Stone article came out um, saying that being anti Blake Lively is just you raising your hand and saying, "Oh, I'm a Republican." I was irritated because obviously if you take a cursory look at my socials, you will see that I'm very much not that, and very vocally not that. So to say that because I don't agree with you on this subject, where there is plenty of evidence that would show why I would have a reasonable amount of doubt, and you're just saying it's because I'm this alt right freak show, that's going to piss me off, and it's certainly not going to soften me to your side. It makes you sound unreasonable and stupid, frankly, and I don't respect it. I don't respect it. And let's finish off with some Bravo news. I just finished watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and first of all, Erica, ha- you should go to law school, bitch. She made quite the compelling argument about how Sutton is kind of like a bully when she sees that someone is like what is it when someone sees that someone is like weak or injured and they're like, "Oh, perfect. Pray, I will attack." She is that person. Um and she did Erica did a great job of explaining, "Oh, you did this to me, you did this to Kyle, and now you're doing it to Dorit." I mean, it absolutely is what it is, and, like, you see her holding on in that I'm sorry if you haven't seen this, but she just the way she tries to get out of this argument or this conversation is just, like, by digging into semantics, and whenever anybody does that, you know that there's not a chance in hell that they're getting anywhere. But yeah, Sutton, not my favorite this season. Dorit has been the best she's ever been. I think I said this on my TikTok, but like in somehow in just like a handful of episodes, she's undone all the irritation she's fucking pummeled me with for the past 6 seasons. So good on her. I like ferocious Dorit. I like angry Dorit. I like Dorit that just says cunt, 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 cunt. It's just, she's right at the tip of her tongue. She's so excited. She just wants to call you a cunt. Just give her any reason, and she's going to do it. And I do believe it's a misdirected thing in some senses. Like PK, the way she talks to her girls in this circumstance, I feel like is the way she wants to rip into PK. Because that man fucking sucks. And that moment when Boz was like, well, is your marriage, when they were having that dinner with Erica and Boz and Dorit and Kathy, and Boz looks at Dorit and she asks her, are you going to be staying in this marriage? Are you guys getting divorced? And Dorit's like, well, I'm not sure where his head's at. And Boz looks at her and, Erica looks at her and says, he doesn't want to be in this marriage anymore. This is over. Like, he doesn't want you. Whew, whew, my heart, because that shit's hard to hear. Just like when he stood up in that restaurant and like raised his arms up and he was like, look, it's single PK. Fucking. And she still wants to be with him and it makes me sad. It makes me sad. And also, kind of a left, but back to Sutton and Dorit. What was the point of bringing up her wallet? Like, I don't understand. I wish that someone had just been like, wait, yes, I understand that your wallet is bigger than hers, Sutton, but what bearing does that have in this conversation or this conflict that you are having with Dorit? Like, what is the point that you are trying to make here? Does Dorit owe you money? Did she say something about your money? I don't get it. Like, that's like someone being like, well, you should argue with someone whose, titties match, right? You see these big uns? These are doubled. You should argue with someone who has A's like you. It's just as valid. It relates to the conversation just as much. Like, I could say the same about my forehead. You should have a conversation with someone whose forehead matches because it certainly can't match mine, bitch. Like, what are you even talking about? And that is all. Thank you for listening to this episode of Saron Things. I had such a fun time cackling with ya.